I think there are a couple of things going on with the sales profession in the U.S. today. The biggest phenomena that's happening is that selling is actually becoming more complex. I mean, the salesperson of the past typically had one product. They would go out, they'd have a territory. Many people think of them as hunters, and if they had the right energy, they had the right ambition, they had the right perseverance, they could be successful in selling. It's not really the case anymore today for many sales positions, because today the competitive dynamics are much stronger, so you have to do more than just show up and pitch one product. In fact, most salespeople today have many different things that they can sell, and the key that really distinguishes them is whether or not they can understand what the customer's real business challenges are and figure out how their set of offerings can actually fit with that customer. If they're able to do that well, and actually be much more of a problem solver as opposed to just kind of a seller, that's what's really going to distinguish the people who win. I think, if you ask, probably the best way you get a perspective on that is ask the sales managers. They'll give you the honest perspective. I think the key thing that salespeople need today more than they needed in the past is an understanding of the customer's business. So they need much more business acumen, they need much more financial acumen, and they need to use that to think about what is the problem that we're trying to solve for the customer, and how can they think, frankly, somewhat on their feet, or how can you enable the salesperson to actually know how to apply their products to solve a real issue for a customer, as opposed to just go in and talk about features and benefits. If the salesperson isn't able to add much value in the discussion, if they're not able to guide the customer on how to make a better decision, they're largely going to buy off of product features and price. In that instance, the salesperson actually isn't really providing that much value. What you would like to see happen, and what's really, frankly, critical for a company to actually earn good margins, is the salesperson actually does need to be able to differentiate the company by highlighting, hey, we understand your business. We understand that you're a retail company. And if we're selling you software and we know you're a retail company, we better know a bunch of things about the retail business and be able to tell you, well, here's what people in your industry, here's how they utilize our software, and here's how we're going to make you more successful. The company that's able to do that with a much more deep understanding of the specific customer issues is going to be much more successful. For companies that are trying to sell in emerging markets like China or India, what's key for them, frankly, the first thing that's key is actually to get the marketing-esque decisions right. You need to understand who is the customer, you need to make sure you've got the right product value proposition for the customer, and then you need to make sure you understand how the customer actually makes decisions. Once you get all of that right, then the issues are more significant for sales. And for sales, what would probably be obvious for most people is you're not going to hire people from the United States and send them to China, even if they were successful in the United States, because frankly it's a completely different culture. And that's really one of the most important things to think about when it comes to selling in other countries. Selling is a very cultural phenomenon. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you're selling. You could be selling a mobile phone to a consumer. You could be selling, $50 million of, technology to a large corporation. At the end of the day, it's people dealing with people. So it's very much about the culture of the particular country that you have to be sensitive to. And the people who are going to understand that are largely people who have grown up in that country. So what you will find is, multinational corporations go to other countries. For the vast majority of their sales force, they're going to hire local nationals. And it's going to be local nationals who have grown up in that country, understand the culture. And then what the company will need to do is actually train on their product value proposition and their sales process on how to be successful. I think it depends on the company to some extent. I mean, you could divide the world up simply into business to consumer and business to business. I mean, frankly, for most of the things that we buy as consumers, we don't actually interface with an actual salesperson. So the role of marketing is actually much bigger. That's why things like advertising are very successful in business to consumer. It's actually quite different, though, in business to business. I mean, business to business, let's say you want to sell to large companies. Well, there's the Fortune 1000 that, of course, everybody wants to sell to. People who are making decisions for expenditures that are in the hundreds of thousands to millions, advertising isn't going to influence them to make that decision. And because of the money that's at stake there, a salesperson is a very economic thing to apply to actually, engage that customer and have them make decisions. So at the end of the day, I think in business to business, the marketing will help you get your foot in the door, but then because these products in business to business tend to be more complex, you really need a salesperson who's going to represent, here's what the product can do, and let me understand your business need as a customer, and then we can work together to figure out what's the right solution that we can put in place. So the role of the salesperson is critical there.